Good afternoon, everyone. This is Patrick Russell, Blue Jay class of '89, and this is episode 11 of the We Want More Vodcast.
Winds up, makes it, scores another one for Hopkins.
The test was just called it right in there. Shot to goal right out in front. The Blue Jays
does not wear a brace. Never has shown any adverse effects. Harrison with it. Big shot. Scores! Kyle Harrison goes high. That's it. It's over. Johns Hopkins has won its ninth national championship.
Pete, good afternoon. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Good, good. Practice later today?
Yeah, 4:00.
Okay. Good, good. Well, we're in the heart of it. Getting into the middle of the Big Ten season. We're on episode 11. I did this the last couple of times. Got to do this. Got to shout out to some of the great 11s. Matt Hanna, great number 11. My teammate, Quint Kesnich. QK, our goaltender. Barney Fields from the 70s and 80s. Kieran Eisler, another great 11. And another teammate of mine, Drew Burns, the pride of Severn.
Nice. And Carson Brown.
George Castle. So I know I'm probably leaving out a couple 11s, but here we are, episode 11. Pete, you're coming off an exciting homecoming win against Penn State. And homecoming has a really different vibe to it at Hopkins, as I'm sure you've come to know. Just give us a quick breakdown of what you thought of the Penn State game and take us inside the team a little bit in that exciting overtime win.
Sure. Yeah, great game. Obviously, big atmosphere. There was 6,000 people, something like that here for homecoming. It was a great day. A lot of fanfare, a lot of I guess excitement around the around the venue, other competitions, a lot of alums back, things like that. Well contested game, I thought, both ways. Certain things were sharper than others, but they're a great team. They play really hard. They're really well coached. We knew it was going to be a battle. It was overtime last year, and so it just maybe it's just the way fortune works. It came down to the same thing again this year, and couldn't really have been prouder of the way the guys just got tougher in the fourth quarter. They just made tougher plays. They decided to make something happen when there wasn't much going on. Like really timely caused turnovers at the end. And, we lose the opening faceoff of overtime and find a way to get that ball back and a good clear and get to our offense, and they execute and put it away. And it was great. A couple of those overtimes haven't gone our way this year, and to get that one and certainly rebound from last season against them as well. So, sitting at 3-0 in the conference, it's a good place to be, but we got more work to do.
Yeah, totally. And, we go back to episode 1. We're coming off of, or episode 2, when we're coming off the first game of the season, a loss to Denver, and it's like, wow. In February, you got a April, May like game. And, maybe that helped, right? We talked about the frenetic overtime period with Denver, and going forward, we're now in our third overtime game, and maybe it helps us.
Yeah, I mean, I think the storyline is if you're, as long as you're learning from it, then it's not a failure, it's a loss. But they come with part of the season. You just got to keep moving forward, getting better from it. So. I think we took a pretty good look at that when it happened, way back in February, as we did with the Navy one. But, got an offensive possession for the first time in overtime and got a chance to finish the game the right way. There's a lot of those scenarios that come up when your team is battle tested, when they've been through a lot of things, when you've played tight games, you've played, had to come back in fourth quarters, you've, had to manage in overtime, things like that. So I think there's a lot that the guys have gained from that has led, has built into strengths at this point of the year.
Right. Okay. Sort of a tale of two halves. Both teams with outstanding goalie play.
Yeah.
Particularly in the first half. All game, both goalies were great. Chase was settling in. He was great. But all the stats seem to have been even, except for turnovers. We took advantage of Penn State's turnovers. Question for you. do we practice situational scenarios? You know, a
Mhm.
turnover by a team, run down the field and score. You know, I always say that the deadliest sin is a turnover to a goal. We took advantage of that. Agreed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah, probably two parts to that.
Yeah.
I thought the turnover margin was, maybe the difference maker just because of how I think each team was playing, was battling. The goals were not easy to come by. The goalies were playing so well. Offensive efficiency was a point of focus. Like we needed convert every opportunity we had, the best chance we could get, because we weren't getting great ones, and defense was good. So, riding a few back and causing a few turnovers on their end of the field, I thought that made a huge difference. And, one more possession maybe was what got us that one. We almost closed it out at the end of the regulation. We showed that one in film on Monday, that the turnover with maybe 20 seconds left or something, and then there's an opportunity for us to clear the ball. And by the time the ref blew the whistle, Hunter Juranski was already like 40 yards up the field. And we looked for him, we got the ball to him, we didn't have transition, but we blew the whistle, called the timeout, and got 13 seconds for a play at the end of that. And I don't think if Hunter Juranski had been that aware and really that focused on the next play, if we had to clear the ball, we might have gotten it over the restraining line with 5 seconds left, or maybe not
Right.
any. And so
Right.
just that reaction from those guys, and just thinking on their feet, like, what's the next thing we can do that's going to help the team. And you saw him as soon as the ref put his hand up, he was already sprinting up the field,
Right.
and it was just a
Right.
great reaction.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, we practice scenarios as much as we can. We'll put 3 minutes on the clock and do an end of game. We'll do a fourth quarter. We'll do a lot of those. We did, yesterday, I think we did the start of a game. So we try and mix it up as far as what scenario is we're working on, and run through those as much as you can.
Yeah. Something our listeners probably don't think much about, but situational coaching is just, also it's a fun part of practice, end line
It
clear
is.
and down, sideline clear with 3 seconds left to go. So it's good to
Yeah.
see us practice that.
You can get
Oh,
yourself bogged down in it for sure.
right.
There's a
Yeah.
lot, as coaches, we'll get stuck in the office for, 45 minutes running over stuff and making
Right.
spreadsheets, and
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
work on the field that way.
All right. So Pete, just take us inside a little bit, with a minute plus to go. And in the fourth quarter, I think Penn State tied it up. I mean, just kind of take us inside what's said to the team, with a minute left to go before we go into overtime.
I think the first thing in the team huddles was just making sure that our focus is on the right things. Like keep your focus on what your tasks are, what's the job at hand. Don't try and make a play outside of your responsibility. Like do your job the best you can, and make sure that we're staying focused on what's coming, what's possibly next happening after each thing. And we went up and thought that I was, felt like we were in a pretty good spot there. I think it was Colley's goal that put us up, or
Yep.
Dylan's, one of the two. And they seemed to equal, maybe they equaled both of those.
Yes.
Called that late timeout on the defensive end of the field, and just misplayed a pick right after that, and they got a shot off. I mean, I trust those guys. They seem to manage those pretty consistently, but that one, the other team did, handle it pretty well, and we made the mistake. But I think you also heard, like, right away, everybody on the sideline, the offensive guys to the defensive guys, like, starting to make those connections. Like, we'll get it back. Like, I think that's been a point of emphasis within the last few weeks, and I think they've done a great job of making those connections as a team. That it's up together, down together, win together, lose together, whatever it is. Like, if one side of the field is struggling, we don't allow that resentment to build in and weigh us down. We just it's maybe we're gonna have to pick them up. Maybe we're gonna have to get one more stop. Maybe we're gonna have to, dig out a tough ground ball. And really seeing that stuff play out in real time was great. It was one of the things that we, again, talked about afterwards, that they just did a great job with it.
And only one penalty the entire game. It was, by Penn State, and it was a tough call on their, to defend Penn State, tough call, but, really clean, a cleanly played game, one penalty. The defense, Pete, our defense, in this day and age, when we talk about, pockets and stick technology, we were actually playing aggressive defense and dislodging the ball. There were a lot of great checks and dislodging the ball quickly. Yeah. Scott Smith makes Big Ten Defender of the Week.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about the defense and their mindset in this game.
Sure.
And they had a potent attack.
Yeah. That's a pretty it's a pretty tough offense to defend. I mean, the reigning Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year. They produced at a pretty high rate. They run a pretty quick motion offense. They run a lot of picks. It's a handful, and if you're not ready for it, it can pile up on you quick. But Scotty's such a huge piece down there, and he's when he's in his space, in his mindset, in his right environment, like, he's as good as there is. He just he stays even keel. He communicates and supports defensively. He gets out on his matchup and breaks down, and he really stresses the guy that he's covering. Like, you could see that the body language when he makes that approach. It's not exciting. They don't want to be there all that much sometimes, and it sets a real tone for us. And I think the guys cover up for each other well. I think the whole unit, those three close guys, the rope unit, I mean, they've been playing well. Obviously, Chase backstopping them makes a huge difference. But Scotty's kind of a tone setter down there for sure. I mean, he's definitely the most vocal. He's definitely got he's personality plus, but it's the right way. Like, the guys love going to battle with Scotty. He's a competitor through and through, and he's a great teammate.
Okay. Quick question. Great overtime win, homecoming. One or two things you and the coaches are saying, what, here's one or two things we need to clean up or improve upon.
Probably our shooting in the first half wasn't our best performance. I think we need to continue working on that. We could be more efficient. I know he was, that goalie got on his game pretty quick, but we also fed him a bunch. I don't know if we took that extra step. I don't know if we, looked for the better shot. We, maybe forced a couple, but that team really wasn't sliding much. And, sometimes that can get you into a little bit of a bullying matchup where, they're not sliding, so you dodge harder, and it kind of plays right into what they're looking for. Coach Crawley did a great job breaking it down afterwards. It was really just about how much effort was going into the off-ball play, and are we creating enough space, and are we setting up the offensive opportunities, or are we just looking at the guy with the ball and telling him he needs to dodge harder because we're not drawing slides? And I think we fell victim a little bit to that in the first, and I think we could stay a little bit more patient, a little more composed, and work a little harder off the ball. I think the other one is probably digging out tougher ground balls. Like, we did a decent job of it, but not consistently enough. I'm not saying we're going to win 100-0 on ground balls, but obviously that's the goal. I would love to. But we left a few on the ground. I don't think we reacted faster than they did a couple times. We did move it off the ground and get it away from pressure a little bit better, make those escapes easier. Things we're talking about and the guys are working on. But against great teams, like, it's not that easy. So, it's just going to be something that we keep digging into.
Good. Well, great game. Couple players. McDermott. I mean, I think he is a 1970s two-way mini. He stays on the field. Great defender, but it's like
he was on the field a second ago.
What's that?
He was out on the field when I walked in a minute ago.
But he can play offense, and maybe one of your fastest players. Just tell us a little bit about Dylan McDermott.
Casey, yeah. Casey's
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Casey.
Yeah, Casey. No, you said it the first time.
I'm thinking of the actor. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's great. He might be the most competitive kid I've worked with in, I don't know, a long time, maybe ever. I mean, he is just, all he wants to do is go after it. Like, you got to save him from himself sometimes in practice because he goes so hard. But yeah, I mean, he's a utility guy because he can do it all. Like, I think, he's been an everyday offensive guy for a while, but knowing that the priority for possessions and on faceoffs, that we could add him to wing play. Like, he's kind of setting a tone there for us. I think we talked about it the week before. We didn't use him as much in the first half of that Michigan game, but as soon as we put him in the second half on those wings, he started making plays, and probably just overthought that a little bit as coaches, that we should have used him because he's our best guy there. And he gets back on defense and he works like crazy for ground balls. He made some offensive plays, made a really good one right when I called timeout. So I had to apologize to him for that one. But he's doing
Oh, yes.
he's doing all the dirty work for us. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. The dazed look on the players, like, you just call a timeout.
Yeah. I was hoping we could get
How
possession the
many
last
times
week.
has that happened in lacrosse? It's happened 1,000 times.
It's happened to me a couple times this year
Yeah.
already. But I'm trying to be supportive and trusting of those guys going to the goal. But I also,
Right.
if I see them running into three people, sometimes I'm like, maybe we should just call timeout and
Yeah.
set something up. We only had a few seconds left in the first half, so it was
Yeah.
whatever, bonehead play, but
Yep.
they got my back.
Casey, mea culpa. Casey McDermott, my bad. I'm not a professional journalist, as you know. Lastly, Garrett Degnan. We talk about him often.
Mhm.
Great stroke. One of the things that's been really impressive about Garrett Degnan is his bouncer. He had, some nice bounce shots, and they're just as sweet to look at as the high ones.
Yeah, they're any of the ones that go in the goal are pretty exciting for me to look at.
Yeah.
He's definitely got a good bouncer. He's used it a few times. You're right.
Yeah. And I use this analogy before, Pete, but like a pitcher, he's finding different,
Yeah,
change ups to his repertoire. So it's really good.
yeah, no doubt.
By the way, for our fans, Garrett has one more goal needed to become the fifth player at Hopkins with 150 career goals.
Nice.
Terry Reardon, Brian Bacola, another great Hopkins name, Franz Wittelsberger, and most recently Ryan Brown. So one more goal for Garrett, and he'll be in the fifth player in the 150 goal club, which is great.
Nice. Yeah, that's impressive.
On Saturday Night Live, I think they give you like one of those robes, like smoking robes, to make it so. All right, so we're going to move on to Ohio State. Pete, this is going to be a Sunday night game. They do this in the Big Ten. There's always a Sunday night matchup on the Big Ten network, 7:00 at Ohio State. What do we need to see or expect in this game against Ohio State?
We need to take care of the ball. We've got to be pretty active and selfless as off-ball players on the offensive end of the field. If we get stagnant and stale, they're really a tough defensive group. They match up really well. They support well. They stay close. They got a big goalie. He makes saves and eats space. They face off well. So that possession battle is going to be really significant. I think they got a big and physical group. They're athletic on offense. It's like Big Ten games seem to be very similar week to week. I mean, they're all different teams, but there's a lot of similarities in that they're all really well coached. They're all physical. They don't kind of rely on trickery, or there's not a lot of smoke and mirrors when it comes to these games. Like at this point, it's the end of the year. You've seen them play enough times. You've seen them play all common opponents mostly, and so you get a pretty good sense of who everybody is, and you got to see what they've got for you, and you got to attack it head on, because I'm sure they'll have some other curveballs to throw at you, but for the most part, like, strengths are strengths, and they're pretty well established at this point.
Right. One little note too, I think this will be our first game in their new venue, right? They've built a lacrosse only stadium. Which has been great in the Big Ten, by the way. You usually get a day to prepare, correct? When you're there, like, to get used to that kind of thing.
We'll get out on. We usually practice our home venue before we travel, but the game's at night, so we'll have a shoot around on Sunday. We head out Saturday. We'll practice here Saturday, then we head out. We do a shoot around on Sunday. Play Sunday night. We actually don't fly back till Monday. So we'll miss a portion of Monday's classes, but we don't have to miss Friday's class. So it's a little bit of a trade-off.
Great. Well, we wish you luck on Sunday again at 7:00 on the Big Ten Network. I'm hoping that we get Mark Dixon on the call. He's one of the greats. And
we do. We have Dixon on the call.
Yeah, Dixie's he's great. There are a lot of great announcers out there, but Dixie's great. All right, Coach. So, the fun part, this has become the most popular part of the podcast, the feedback.
Oh, really?
Sort of the alumni, take us inside the team questions. We used to call them superlatives back in the day.
Oh, I got you.
first of all, we mentioned homecoming. Great, great vibe. It's always a little bit uptick in attendance. People are back for their reunions. We're one of the few schools that does it in the spring. I did want to give a shout out to that, 78, 79, 80, 81 group. They all, I don't know if you know this, they attend a lot of games and they sit on the Shelley Pavilion side under their sign where it says 78, 79, 80.
Yeah, opposite
So
the bench. Yeah.
yeah, so just so you know,
Yeah.
you'll see about 25, 30 guys there, probably more during homecoming. They were
Yeah.
there because just wanted to let you know they were there because they wanted to honor four of their teammates who have passed. Dave Hot Rod Huntley, Jeff Cook, who we mentioned in the last podcast, Jimmy Bidney, who was nicknamed Pinhead. There's a reason why I bring that up. And then also recently we lost the great Bob DeSimone. So here's a question I have for you. What's the best nickname on this team?
The best nickname?
Yeah.
It's a good question. There's some good ones. Honestly, the ones I like the most are like the randomest that Eric McDonald.
That just appear, right? The ones that just
Yeah,
pop.
everybody calls him Jim because I guess he looks like a Jim. Somebody called him that one time. I don't remember, so his name's Jim now. And
And who is that?
Eric McDonald. He's a sophomore, and I don't know why that one always cracks me up. And Charlie Eiler's a freshman. I don't know if he nicknamed himself Steve-O, but I don't know what the correlation is. But everybody calls him Steve.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's a whole lot. Alec Billings is 50, Fitty, the way they say it. That's his jersey number, but I
I
think he's
like
embraced
Angel.
it.
I mean, Jacob Angel. Angel's great.
Yeah, Russ Melendez is Desi. Trying to think who else there is.
Yeah.
You probably got to ask the guys. They're better with nicknames. I
Good.
get jersey numbers and last names.
But very, very insightful. This is good. Back in our day, we had Brian Lucas, who won the Schneidman Award. We called him Jughead.
Yeah.
I gave him the name Jughead.
Oh, okay.
And we were alluding to the cartoon character from the Archies back in the day. And Jughead was kind of like this sort of out there, kind of like a Cosmo Kramer type.
Yeah.
And it's great to this day. People still refer to Brian as Jughead. So,
That's
all right.
pretty good.
All right. We always see this in the World Cup. Okay. Japan plays in the World Cup and they always leave a spotless, meticulous, clean locker room. You're leaving Ohio State. Who's the one player that makes sure that the locker room is spotless as you leave?
There's a few. The captains are, I mean, the locker room will be spotless when we leave, there's no doubt. But, Chase and Jacob Stabner are always in there. Braxton Bowler, certainly the captains, Bo and Garrett. Trying to think of who else is usually last to do that stuff. Pat Moore. There's a lot of guys. I mean, it's a priority for us. We talk about it, and I think there's a lot of guys that embrace it. Can always keep emphasizing it, but I would be amazed if we leave a locker room and it's not put back better than we found it.
Good to know.
Yeah.
All right, a few more. The player who most likely could compete in a triathlon.
A triathlon. Brett Martin.
Okay.
Or maybe Hunter. Hunter doesn't get tired. Oh, Marcelo.
Okay.
Marcelo would crush that, I bet. I don't know if he swims. I don't know if anybody swims, to be honest with you, but I would assume they could.
Right.
Yeah, Marcelo is probably built in the way he could do that pretty well. But Brett and Hunter, I usually it's short sticks basically. You go through the rope unit, you'll find somebody in there. I mean, or at least you could just take your chances.
And again, as we've alluded to, like you just keep throwing short sticks out there, and one's better than the other. I mean, they're all great. They're all great athletes and great defenders.
Coach K is really good at coaching that position, I think, and he teaches those guys well, and he's got a good eye. I mean, you asked how we identify him, and he looks for the toughest kids that don't get tired, and then teaches them how to play.
Awesome. Okay. Last one. I call this the Roger Dorn question.
Okay.
In my older age, I've become a fan and I appreciate the movie Major League, the original Major
Hmm.
League with Tom
Great
Barry,
movie.
because if you really watch that movie, it does tell a story about how teams are made up and the personalities of teams. And if you
Hmm.
remember, Roger Dorn was the third baseman who didn't really want to like slide or get hit or get dirty. So my Roger Dorn question is this: You're on the bus. There's always the knuckleheads in the back of the bus, right?
Hmm.
Who's sitting at the front of the bus reading the Rob Report, the Financial Times, and Esquire and GQ? Who's that? We had those in my day. Who are the guys that sit towards the front of the bus, dress nicely, and are reading the Financial Times and the Rob Report?
Who's sitting in the front of the bus? That's a pretty good one. Um, let's
Like
see.
like Roger Dorn in Major League.
Um, I gotta say Bo is always in the front. Maybe that's because he's not allowed in the back. I don't know. Um,
Happens too.
a bunch of the younger guys end up there, but Tyler Dunn.
Okay.
Tyler Dunn's always reading something weird, I bet, or playing Storm the Castle on his phone.
Okay.
Um, yeah, who else is up there?
Good.
Yeah, that's who I would go with.
Checking out the stock market. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That was my Roger Dorn question.
It's a
So
good one.
again, one last thing, I saw on the website and social media that you all had the distinct pleasure of getting to meet Michael Bloomberg,
Hmm.
the great
Yeah.
Michael Bloomberg, very philanthropic, been very generous to Hopkins, former chairman of the board of trustees. I mean, and a legend. Tell us quickly what that experience was like, and do the players understand the magnitude of his visit?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would hope so. We talked about it beforehand and gave him some specifics, but I mean, it was incredible. I mean, he's got such a strong relationship with the university, and he's been so supportive and philanthropic. He's gifted some pretty significant things to the university. Enable the financial aid program to be what it is, and that's helped us from a recruiting standpoint immensely. I wanted to make sure that was something that the guys were aware of. Like this is a very successful man. He's the former mayor of New York City, and um, he's done a lot for this university, but specifically, he's probably helped a lot of you guys even get here that might not have been possible 10 years ago. But it was great, and we were supposed to meet with him this fall during our networking trip. He was going to be in town, and we were going to meet him, but I think he got COVID or something, and so he couldn't come. But he actually, I guess, initiated, like he followed up with the alumni office and said that he still wanted to meet with the Hopkins lacrosse team, and they told me he was giving a speech like last week, and he mentioned it. Told the folks that he was coming to see Hopkins and that we had a big game against Penn State. And so he's been following. He said it. He's got a grandkid that plays, and so we gave him a stick and some stuff for his grandkids. And
Yeah.
it was senior day, so we had all the seniors there. We got to have breakfast and just chat with him for a little bit. I don't know if he meant to do it, but he volunteered his email address and said anybody that needs anything, reach out. And so I'm pretty sure he's going
Right.
to get 20 emails.
Right. Exactly.
But it was
So
really,
I'm sure
it's really cool.
someone is reading those for him, but
Yeah, I'm sure it's not going directly to him,
yeah.
but he said it, so they remembered the email.
Well, as an alum, it was a thrill for me to see. You can say you have your famous alums. Hopkins has ours, and we'll take ours over yours any day. The great Michael Bloomberg. So
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah, he was great.
hey Pete, good luck on Sunday, Ohio State at 7 p.m.
Thank you.
I hope that you're enjoying your ride here at Johns Hopkins and
Yes,
being a coach of the Blue Jays.
very
You're
much.
having a
Yes,
great season. So congrats to you.
thank you. These guys are working hard. They're enjoying being together. They're enjoying the challenge. They want to represent the black and blue the right way and make everybody proud. But I think it's really just about those guys, finding something in each other that really makes them feel inspired and challenging each other. And I think that's what keeps them going to embrace new challenges and not just look for victories, but look for, the next test and where we can go from here. So we're still getting better. And I think we got some work to do ahead of us, but we're excited for the next one.
Great. Good luck. And thank you very much. Best wishes against the Buckeyes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.